A new day unfolds, full of possibilities and promise. Good morning and welcome to Enterprise Morning, reaching you from our headquarters in Lagos, Nigeria, and Enterprise Television. This is your daily resort for insights about everything happening in Nigeria and beyond. I am Henry Igwibike.
And I am Choma Okohe.
So together, let's dive into today's headlines. But of course, we will then join you to be part of our community and have a say in what we say. We are at enterprisetvnews.com, and also like, comment, and follow us on all our social media platforms at Enterprise TV 7. With us today in the studios to do justice to all that we have, both the newspapers and possibly move on to our main conversation today is Cyril Abaku, a journalist and a public affairs commentator. Good morning, Cyril.
Good morning,
and welcome.
Good morning,
Choma, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you today?
I'm great, and you?
Great, fine. All right, so quickly, let's kick off our newspaper headlines. And what do we have, Choma?
Yeah, we'll be starting with the Vanguard newspaper. And from the big story here says, agony in Southeast, as kidnappers lay siege to communities. We have about a few riders to that particular story. I'll be starting with one of the big riders here, Tales of Horror from Lokwonta area. And moving on, we have horror tales from kidnappers den has ignited fear in citizens.
All right, there's a whole lot of riders there, but of course it talks about the issue happening in the southeast of Nigeria. But on the top strip of the same newspaper, we have flooding. Death toll rises to 170. Injured 2,000, displaced 205,000. Let's just kick off with that. Cyril Abaku, this is unavoidable, obviously. And when it comes to nature, no one can stop it. It would happen when it would happen. But of course, that does not mean that as humans, intelligent humans, it is our responsibility to do the needful. What do you think is happening?
Which we fail to do.
Yes, exactly.
Because people have now died. And the dead are numbering more than, in fact, are close to 200. It was entirely avoidable. Now again, we've been told that the rains have been forecast to run for about a month. So there's a lot you can do to prevent not the rains, but the consequence of the rains. Now, broadly speaking, Nigeria's challenges with natural disasters, especially rains and flooding, can be traced in a number of factors. One of them, people building on drainage channels and building in wrong places. One. Number two, government's own inaction or passivity in terms of doing the right thing to prevent the battle from happening. I give an example. There are not enough dams in this country. So when the Cameroon and also open up their dams, the right of way for water, if that's what they tend to use, there's nothing, without a place where we can lake them in or just collect them to prevent them from going into. So that's yet another issue. Then, at the very least of it, there is a National Emergency Management Agency. For goodness sake, their duty cannot be reduced to distributing blanket and salt and palm oil when people are affected, and maybe bags of rice when people are affected by flooding. What are they supposed to be doing? How can we? You must do one of two things. If the flooding, which is inevitable, is going to come, and we've not found a way of preventing from causing harm to people, then let's avoid building in those places. Okay? And if you must build, can we give people concession to relocate to where these floods wouldn't have adverse effect on them? So we can have all that conversation, right? Government has to be proactive. For the fact that we can see it coming, so that we can quickly run, but we don't run to safety. 2 years ago, was it years ago in Bayelsa, it was not a good story at all. People who had worked all their lives to build houses, everything was washed away.
It's always been a very sad situation, particularly in Bayelsa. So what do you think the government should do at that point, knowing that this particular place, Bayelsa particularly, is always prone to
the Bayelsa case was so bad. Permit me to bring this example. We saw one snake that came out of the water and looked like that, was as long as a skyscraper. Now, so what do we do? What we can do is simple. I don't know, but I want to assume that you can connect with what I'm about to say. I hope Chama can too. We grew up attending schools that had a lot of vast playgrounds. greenery because their roots went deep. And when rain fell, those roots were have a way of sucking the water up. Today now, we are building houses as if everybody's in a hurry to just erect a structure. The distance between the house and the fence is just like, the distance of a sardine can. So when you have that kind of situation, it means that there is a disconnect between man and his environment. Okay? Yeah, so how we're building houses, how we are even building materials, and the fact that we are sinking boreholes everywhere. So there's a lot of consequence between there's a lot of negative outcome between the way we are living and environment that we've been given to live. Now, in the case of Bayelsa, a lot of those coastal cities, I've been to places like Angalawe Bene, and they told me about another place called La Bene. In Angalawe Bene, they build houses with mud. When the rains come, the rains will dissolve the mud houses. After the rains are gone.
Okay, now, Cyril.
Sorry, I'm coming. So, can we is it dredge or reclaim in a way that we can build on higher ground?
The entire community.
No, of course.
I mean the whole community.
Well, if you have to do it, why not? What has Netherlands done? Nether means under. The Netherlands are water. Land in the land is like the exception. In fact, they will tell you that God gave them water, that they created the land.
But that's a country that have got system and have got structure.
So what's the from getting us?
That's where I was heading to, because if you listen to, I want to quote what the speaker for the National Emergency Management Authority says. That's Ezekiel. Ezekiel said to the CNN that northern Nigeria has been hit hardest by the floods. And he went on to say the pattern of flooding in Nigeria is such that it usually happens on the northern side, then it moves to the central, and then to the southern parts. Now, because the water flows downwards, that is coming from Ezekiel. Now, yes, but if you see how it's been happening, and he also strategically said that where these floods are taking place are known to be prone areas where it's been happening. Now, we mentioned something which they usually do, or our leaders usually do. They provide relief materials, gari, rice, food, salt, and other things for the citizens. At this point, I'm not going to say the citizen or the leaders are more comfortable providing relief materials than doing the right thing to see to the fact that these menaces are tackled once and for all.
Well, like I said, we must be ahead of the curve. Nature can be tamed, nature can be contained, nature can be, maybe loosely speaking, managed or guided, even if you can't entirely stop it.
Sure.
But there's a lot you can do about it. We've seen what they've done in Japan, we've seen what they do in India, okay? Sometimes because people don't have the economic means, you can't really force them to live outside of certain, but the moment you can see the crisis is on its way. What can you see? Part of the Nigerian problem is that you cannot discuss any issue outside of the overall Nigerian challenge. So, for example, how many are we? Where are we? And what is the situation of things? If you want to build alternative emergency housing, who and where are you building it for? A country without borders, how do you plan all of that? In Kilauea, I don't know if it's Texas or but in America, Kilauea, the molten lava has been flowing since 1980 or 81. Steadily flowing. Steadily, it has not stopped till now, as I speak to you. The lava flows, sometimes it comes into people's houses, they run away, drive their cars away like that. But we know Kilauea is unique. We know those who are affected. The news rounds go there. Sometimes you see them standing beside the lava, but you don't step into it. You see them standing beside the lava and doing stand-ups and doing interviews. So all of that is understandable. But if it were in Nigeria now, the money that they will budget for taking care of the problem will be twice the amount you need to even solve the problem completely. So it's like we are happier to do emergency response than we are to solve the problem real time.
All right. Yes. So while we talk about that, of course, there are situations that some, as humans, we can't solve. Even the most developed economies, wildfire still ravaged them. It's still continuous in Canada, in America, and so on and so forth. In Brazil and so on.
That is not an excuse for us not to do the right thing.
Oh, but well, nature would always be nature.
Sorry, just to add to this, right? So now, largely speaking, the world civilization today is largely Western or European in a way, right? Because of colonialism and stuff like that. Even up to India and all these places is mostly Western. Now, this is the Western thought may have reached its limit. Did this happen in Dubai, where they weren't expecting any floods, anything, so they were prepared for even the unthinkable thing. So I sort of understand. I agree with the fact that when we, as a matter of fact, I used to say that like the way the Germans thrive on idealism, the French talk about realism, and Americans talk about pragmatism. Nigeria should thrive on preparationism because we are never prepared for anything. But yeah, so we can adopt that as a philosophy, and then look, you can think of worst case scenarios and plan for everything.
Very true. All right, so quickly, just before we move on to the next paper, I think this is very important. I've gone in the southeast as kidnappers lay siege to communities. If you understand and study the southeast of Nigeria, particularly that region, every 2 decades you have a proliferation of such people. There used to be a time when Bakassi was the main thing, right? The ravaged communities, just like these people are doing now. It's just another set of a repeat of what has been experienced in the southeast of Nigeria.
I want to think that the day we have access to, even if it's in 50 years, the day we have access to intelligence as to what is really going on in the southeast and who the real sponsors are, we may be too shocked, we may be too surprised, because I maintain that the problem in the southeast is not organic. It's not a natural problem. It's not in response to the economic downturn.
Why do you?
It's not. It's not. The Southeasterners, the Igbo of the world of Nigeria, right? I think globally they're like the 3rd richest ethnic group or so, after Israel and I think the Ethiopians also, or one of them, but they're like the 3rd richest. There are people who look for how to be productive even in a mess. That's a natural instinct. Yes, you have to give it to them. It is in their nature to behave this. You will be surprised now that you will go there and who can't even speak Igbo, but are just there to foment trouble and to create an entire industry.
Anarchy.
Yes, out of anarchy. So I'm bothered because again, government doesn't. I mean, there's one of the writers I also said they've tagged the particular place Sambisa, the southeast. Okigwe, in Okigwe there is daily gunfire exchange. That's what are they fighting for? What is in the south that they fight? The only thing we never started was coal in the 40s, and that when they were looking for how to export coal to the UK, then they found the Obomoto and called it Port Harcourt, and started putting. So Port Harcourt was a port for coal export. What is it that there's oil there, or there's gold, or there's what in the southeast? So what are they fighting for? Is it political power? What are they really fighting for? That's not even IPOP. What are they fighting for? So you'll be amazed. What's in the southeast that they found, was it a truck? Somebody was driving a truck to the south to cache of weapons. They stopped them on the road. Who told you to bring this one? He said somebody just paid my money to go and convey the bus to Anambra. Who are you going to deliver it to? He didn't know. And that is the typical way of the underworld dealings. Somebody drive it up to a point and park it there, drop the key and move away. Don't look back. That kind of thing. And this people can't attend burials in the most state. People's parents are just rotten. They can't go back there. So something is clearly, and then they are targeting the Igbo elite. The other time was Ifeanyi. Another time was Dora Akinwule's husband. Did you see how the man was killed? To think that the Nigerian heroine will lose her husband that way. It's an unthinkable thing. And yet it passes as if nothing happened. The people that received the report that Owerri prisons were about to be breached in 2020 or 2021 and didn't do anything about it until the prison was breached and people ran away from Owerri prison. Have we called them to question? Do you get what I'm saying? So there is, in my opinion, I can tell, in Yoruba land here, Igbo came up and said he wanted to do Yoruba agitation. We know what he's fighting for. There's no insecurity here per se, but it's clear. IPOP came out and said that they wanted secession. The people who are the crisis in the southeast is not about IPOP and Biafra secession, as far as I see it. Just my so hold on. Is it between police? Is it between the army and dissidents or what? The daily gunfire change in the what is causing it in Okigwe? And they've even tagged one particular place, Sambisa. What does that mean?
Of the southeast. That's so very unfortunate, actually. But let's move on. What do we have, Joe?
Moving on, we have the Guardian newspaper. That is the next paper on our desk. And the big story here, $48 per barrel production cost drowns 60% of Nigeria's oil earnings. Details are on page 6.
All right, and we have marginalization, good governance, or additional 18 states. That's a news analysis on page 4 of the Guardian newspaper.
And moving on, 900 days on, CDHR task Sanwo-Olu on justice for late Bamshade. Details are on page 8.
And also we have residents of Rivers community flee over fresh oil spill.
Moving on, Tinubu to meet Jinping over rail project others, and details are on page 5.
Interestingly, we have a very, very interesting story here. A telephone service quality may drop as telcos consider load shedding. Cyril Abako, this is so unthinkable. At a time when the world is going global, fiber optics, telecommunication, people are taking, astronauts to the space and trying to build on their telecommunication technology. Nigeria is thinking of load shedding. So what that means is, okay, this area might one day we just see no network in this area.
Already, if you have been following, I mean, this is my own experience. This week alone, phone calls have not been very smooth.
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
Last week, though.
Right?
Yes.
I'm glad that you can corroborate it. So, we don't know if it's already started. Sometimes government will anyhow they can do something, they just do it like that. And if it works, it works. So, maybe it's just then. So, it's already been happening. And what can we do then it passes? But what I would say is this. Curiously, I'll tie to the president traveling to China. I don't know if Nigeria is the only country that does not have this sense that you don't in this life. If you can avoid begging, avoid it. If you can avoid begging, if you can avoid being on your knees, if you can avoid living on your knees, if you can avoid going cap in hand, avoid it, because you lose all the respect, you lose all the honor, you lose all the prestige. You lose all the bargaining power. You could even lose identity in the process.
So how does this tie to the issue we have?
What is the president going to tell Jinping in China about our rail project? Is that not so?
Maybe they want to actually get to reconsider for this jet that was actually seized.
Oh, he's going to beg him. He said, I didn't even think of that. So, in all ways and always, we are the ones who are going to beg or ask for something. We shouldn't do that. We should sit back and propose our own value as a country and sell that to the world. China wasn't always like this. China's own revival happened only in 1978.
79.
78 was when Deng Xiaoping came to power. So it was 70. But what's his name? You know when China became China? 1949. It's not been too long. 1940, October 1, the same date as us. 1949. 49 to 60 is how long? Just about 11 years. Right? Yes. And then those that gained independence after around that same time, they've already lived very forward. Very far. Even Kenya that gained independence in 1963. Kenyatta was there till 78 when he died. After Kenyatta, it was Arap Moi. After Arap Moi, it was Mwai Kibaki. After Mwai Kibaki, Uhuru Kenyatta, son of the Fofana, and now William Ruto. But look at a lot of people. I know of companies that have left Nigeria for Kenya. A lot of companies, when they come to Africa, instead of coming to Nigeria, they go to Kenya. Now, there's a place because you see, you must propose a value that people are seeking after. You shouldn't be always seeking after. You won't get anything out of it. We must learn to be a country that has something the world is looking for. Now, there was another headline you read that oil spill made people to run from the village.
Rivers.
Was it necessary? It's not necessary. That since between 1956 and 2024, we will not evolve the technology that could have sanitized ourselves and make it a clean belt. And Saudi Arabia has done it. Should we commend ourselves for that? And then the only thing the NFS can do is to be lying. that the finance will come on stream after that. Those finance will not pump a single they cannot even pump pure water. Come to talk of petrol. So load shedding was a question, and I'll say it now. It was not necessary. Let's investigate and check properly what happened to the infrastructure.
No, basically, what the telcos are saying is because of the policies of the government, taxation, and the economy.
That's where I'm going now, because infrastructure is not just about physical. There's policy framework infrastructure also. So it is the environment basically. Yes, so let's check, and government will not quickly talk. You see, maybe by next week you see telecom services consumers of Nigeria are maybe they've called a press conference and are calling them, but that's when government will now begin to. But on their own and by themselves, they will never take the initiative to say, let's get something worth doing. Do you understand that where I'm going now? So that's where we are. We're not. The president going to China. What is he going to China to go and do? We are the ones who beg them for loans. They are the ones who came here including the laborers to be fixing to work on this. That's why I'm saying, look, you must be able to properly, strategically, sensibly curate a national agenda and pursue it to the. Do you know what I would have done? What I would have done is properly integrate automation into because there's a lot of waste in government. Bring automation in, make it a proper government policy. All the monies that are coming to government, you see, we can save up a whole lot. We're not willing to save up a whole lot. We're willing to waste. We're willing to spend. We're willing to fritter like spoiled children. We're very wayward, as Professor Chunachibe said. That's where we are today. Now, just to wrap, you suggested that it could be because of the Chinese trying to seize our jets. Something happened, and let's just assume that they're about to rusticate Nigeria from the Committee of Nations, because this is a very big global embarrassment. And we've not found anybody call people in Nigeria. We've not found anybody at fault in Nigeria. Our president is now trying to go and beg, assuming that was the case, we're trying to go and talk to Xi Jinping too. So when a child does something wrong, shouldn't you discipline that child as well? You rather go and beg, you rather want to go and beg I mean, where does that leave us really?
Okay, thank you, sir.
Very, very, very so unfortunate if you ask me. And just yesterday, Boeing has just announced that they were taking their Africa's HQ to Ethiopia. Very sad.
They will, because Ethiopian Airlines, is Africa's most recognizable. It's a global brand. Ethiopian Airlines and I think Ethiopia Tea. Those are the two things that Ethiopia has. But to think that a country can make can make a hell of a world out of a mere airline company. You know what I mean? So why? That's not oil. That's not petroleum. That's just running services. Yes, services. Do business as business should be done.
Very unfortunate. Well, that's where we see ourselves and we find ourselves and hope that things get better.
Yeah. I want to say a very big thank you to you, Cyril Abako. Thank you for joining us. And when we return, controversy rages in Nigeria over university qualification age. Just stay with us. We'll be right back shortly.